If you love learning bridge strategy through real game stories, hit subscribe. You won't want to miss what's coming next.
All right, welcome everyone. Pull up a chair, maybe grab a coffee, because today we're heading over to the Bridge Biscotti Club. Now, the atmosphere there is super friendly, but let me tell you, the strategy is deadly serious. So, let's get right to it. At the bridge table, there's this one single question that can totally make or break a partnership. Who is actually in charge? And, spoiler alert, it's not always the person with the most points. Tonight, we are going to figure out who really holds the reins once the bidding gets underway. Okay, so the scene is set. We're zeroing in on this really critical moment in the auction. Picture this. Your partner opens the bidding, you respond, and then they come back with a simple, kind of quiet, one-no trump. You know what happens right after that bid? Well, that changes everything. Make it this. As soon as the opener rebids one NT, they've shown their hand. It's limited, it's balanced, they've told their story. And in that exact moment, control, the captaincy, it passes right across the table. The responder is now the captain. It is their job and their job alone to steer the ship. So, this is what the captain's playbook looks like. It's literally a ladder. Every bid is a different rung, and each rung sends a super specific message. The rungs at the bottom, those are your emergency exits, ways to stop low. But as you climb higher, the messages get a lot more ambitious. You're inviting your partner towards game, or maybe even slam. Okay, so let's really dive into this. Why is this one bid such a huge deal? Why is it such a critical decision point for you, the responder? Well, it's because your partner has just handed you a very, very precise piece of information. And with it, they've also handed you control of the entire auction. I mean, think about it. Your partner has basically just put their cards on the table, figuratively speaking. They've just announced, hey, I've got a balanced hand, my strength is locked in this super narrow 10 to 12 point range, and nope, I don't have 4 cards in the other major. By limiting their hand so perfectly, they've actually given you way more information than they have about the combined partnership assets. And all that information, it empowers you, makes you the captain of the ship. So now your job boils down to making one of 3 fundamental choices. Do you have enough to go for game, for sure? Or do you think you might have enough, or is it really time to just hit the brakes and play in a safe, low-level contract? So how in the world do you make that choice without getting totally lost in a bunch of complicated rules? Well, we're going to use a really powerful, super low-memory framework that I like to call the anchor and the ladder, and it's designed to turn all that confusion into absolute clarity. First up, let's talk about the anchor. That 1NT rebid with its tight little 10 to 12 point range is your stable point. It's the fixed point of reference, the anchor that you're going to measure the strength of your own hand against. Everything you do from this point on is all relative to that anchor. And this is where the ladder comes in. It's brilliant. Once you have that anchor set, you just have to decide which rung of the ladder to step on. Are you on the bottom rung with a weak hand, ready to stop the auction? Or are you on the middle rung, making an invitation? Or are you climbing all the way to the top, telling your partner that game is happening, no questions asked? So let's focus on that middle rung for a minute and see how this works. This is for those hands where game is definitely possible, but you're not 100% sure. You need a way to ask your partner a question without accidentally pushing the auction too high. Your number one tool for this is a bid of 2 no trump. Seriously, just think of it as a simple question about points. You're basically saying, hey partner, I've got an invitational, balanced hand. If you're at the top of your 1NT range, with around 12 points, please bid 3NT. But if you're at the bottom with 10 or 11, just pass. It's that simple. Let's see how this little conversation plays out at the table. So South has 13 points and knows the partnership has at least 23 points combined, maybe more. They ask the question with 2NT. North looks down at a good 10 points, right at the top of that 10-12 range, and accepts the invitation by bidding the game. See? Simple, precise, and it gets the job done. And it's not just 2NT, by the way. Bidding a new suit at the 2 level is also invitational. It shows you've got some values, and it suggests a potential fit, and it's asking partner to take a look at their hand with that suit in mind. It's just another way of asking, hey partner, what do you think of this idea? So the really crucial thing here is the mindset. An invitation is not a command, it's a proposal. You are describing your hand and you're asking a question. You're trusting your partner to make that final call based on whether they have a minimum or a maximum for their 1NT rebid. It's all about teamwork. All right, time to climb to the top of the ladder. This is the exciting part.
This is for when you're holding a hand that is so strong that you know you have enough combined points for game. The only question left isn't if you're going to game, but where the best contract is. A forcing bid completely, absolutely changes the dynamic of the auction. You are no longer asking questions, you are telling your partner what's happening. You're seizing control and you're saying, partner, do not pass below game. We are getting to game, period. You are now the captain and you're issuing the orders.
And your main weapon for this is a jump to the 3 level. So, for example, after partner rebids 1 NT, your jump to 3 of a suit is 100% game forcing. It tells your partner 2 things at the same time. 1, we have game values, and 2, my hand has this specific shape, or this awesome long suit. Just take a look at this sequence here. After South's 1 NT rebid, North jumps to 3 clubs. This message could not be any clearer. North is saying, partner, listen up, we are definitely going to game, and my hand is all about this fantastic club suit. South is now forbidden from passing until a game contract is reached.
Okay, let's put it all together. Let's create a simple, practical thought process you can use every single time you find yourself in this situation at the table. This is your captain's checklist. Before you even think about what your bid is going to be, you just ask yourself this one fundamental question. Look at your points, look at your shape, and decide, are we stopping, are we asking, or are we telling? This simple question will guide you to the right rung of the ladder every single time. And you know, the real beauty of this whole framework is just how simple it is. It's a logical, natural system that doesn't force you to memorize dozens of crazy conventions. Master this foundation first. Once this whole process is second nature, then you can start exploring more advanced tools and gadgets. But this ladder, this is your rock-solid base. You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. Your partner opens, you're all set to make your bid, and then bam, your right-hand opponent drops a takeout double into the auction. It just shrinks everything, steals all your bidding room, and honestly, it just creates a ton of confusion. So what do? How do you fight back? So let's really break this problem down. That takeout double, it's not just a bid, it's a full-on attack on your partnership's communication. Your opponent is basically trying to shove you up the bidding ladder and force you into a guessing game. They want to create chaos where you need clarity. That 1 NT bid, that's the whole key. Now, in this system, it's not what you'd think. It's not a natural bid showing a bunch of points and a stopper. Nope. Instead, it's an artificial bid. It's kind of like a secret signal to your partner that says, hey, I've got a plan. So let's get specific. What is a 1 NT transfer? Well, it's basically an agreement that your 1 NT bid right after that double is a command. It's you telling your partner, the opener, you are going to bid 2 clubs and then you're going to wait for my next instruction. You are literally taking control of the auction. But why do this? What's the big deal? Well, for one, it keeps the bidding really low, which is absolutely crucial. It saves all that valuable space so you can actually describe your hand. But most importantly, it puts the advancer, that's you, the player who now has more information, right in the driver's seat. And the best part? It plugs right into the bidding systems you're probably already using. I love this way of thinking about it. Imagine the advancer is the captain of the ship. They're the one who knows the final destination. The opener? They're the co-pilot. This 1 NT transfer is the captain telling the co-pilot, just hold steady for a second, I'll tell you where we're going. Okay, so how does this actually work in practice? Let's walk through the mechanics. It's a really simple 4-step sequence. So here we go. Step 1, your partner opens a major. Step 2, your opponent doubles. Step 3, you, the advancer, bid 1 NT. That's the signal. And then step 4, your partner's job is so simple. They must bid 2 clubs. No thinking, no evaluating their hand, just 2 clubs. That's it. And I can't stress this enough. Opener's 2-club bid is totally automatic. It's a forced relay. It has absolutely nothing to do with their club suit. It's just a little message that says, Roger that, Captain. Message received. The transfer's done. Now it's your turn to talk again. All right, so the transfer is complete. The auction is back to you, the advancer, at the 2 level. So now what? This is where this whole thing really starts to show its power. Now the advancer, the captain, gets to open up their toolkit and describe their hand perfectly. If you have a weak hand, you can just pass or bid 2 clubs to sign off. Got a balanced invitational hand, there's 2 NT. A balanced game-going hand, 3 NT. And if you've got a really strong distributional hand, you can use new suits at the 3 level to show it. It's all right there for you. Now here's a super important piece of discipline. You cannot upgrade your hand just because the opponent's interfered. A 13-point hand is still just a 13-point hand. So make sure you use the exact same point ranges for your bids that you would in a totally normal, uncontested auction.
So after the advancer describes their hand, the ball is right back in the opener's court. And their job now is to clarify their opening hand. Are they a bare minimum opener or are they at the absolute top of their range? That piece of information is vital for the captain to make the right call on the final contract.
Let's just run through a quick example. So your partner opens one spade. Opponent doubles. You bid 1 NT, that's the transfer. Your partner relays with 2 clubs, now you bid 2 NT, which shows an invitational hand, maybe 13 to 15 points. If your partner has a maximum hand for their opening bid, they accept your invitation and bid 3 NT. See? So clean, so precise, so controlled.
Now, this all sounds pretty great, right? But like any really powerful tool, it comes with one massive requirement. And that brings us to what might be the most important part of this whole thing.
Okay, I've got to give you a big flashing warning sign here. This convention is absolutely fantastic when you and your partner are on the same page. But it is an absolute train wreck if you're not. I mean it. If one of you thinks 1 NT is a transfer and the other thinks it's a natural bid to play, your auction is going to completely and utterly break down.
So, before you even think about trying this at the table, you have to talk to your partner. Here's a simple checklist for that conversation. Just ask the question, hey, do we agree to play 1 NT as a transfer after a double? And then you check yes or you check no. And if you check no, that's fine. It just means 1 NT is a natural bid for you. But whatever you decide, please write it down on your partnership agreement card.
And really, it all boils down to this. You've got one bid, 1 NT, that can have 2 totally different meanings. If you agree to play the convention, it's an artificial transfer to clubs. If you don't, it's a natural bid. There is no middle ground. You and your partner absolutely must pick one.
Okay, so theory time is over. Let's head back to the Bridge Biscotti Club and see how this actually plays out in the real world.
All right, let's start at the bottom of that ladder. These are the bids the captain uses when they either want to get out of the auction fast or maybe just send up a gentle flare, an invitation for partner to keep going.
So on our first board, the responder is holding a pretty weak hand, maybe 6 high card points. Now, in room A, our experts, Marjorie and Bartek, they nail it. After the 1 NT rebid, Marjorie bids 2 clubs, that's the sign-off, and Bartek passes. It's clean, it's quiet, it's perfect. But over in room B, oh boy. The pair tries to improvise with 2 diamonds, they get way too high, and they end up going down. Ouch. And that brings us to our very first Biscotti lesson of the day. Listen, when your partner's 1 NT rebid basically screams, "I'm limited," that is not the moment to get creative. You have to respect that message and take the nearest exit. And here's why this is so critical. The entire system is held together by weak hands knowing when to stop. With just 6 or 7 points and no obvious fit, your job as captain is to find the safest port in the storm. You are not exploring for game, you're actively preventing a disaster.
Okay, let's look at a hand that's a little bit better. Now the responder has some invitational values. So in room A, the experts make a simple 2-heart bid. It's basically saying, hey partner, I've got a little something over here, what do you think? The opener has a bare minimum and correctly passes. But in room B, the responder gets a little too antsy, jumps to 3 hearts, and it's just an aggressive overreach that puts the whole contract in jeopardy.
So our second Biscotti lesson is all about temperature control. If you have an invitational hand, your job is to invite, not to demand. A simple bid at the 2 level is the absolute perfect way to do that. It's a suggestion, not an order.
And the reason this works so beautifully is that a 2-level bid communicates the situation perfectly. It says, look, I've got around 11 points, I've got some support, but we're not a sure thing yet. And this gives the opener, who's already told you they're limited, a really easy choice. Bid on with a maximum or just pass with a minimum. See? It's a question, not a command.
Okay, time to climb. Let's head up to the higher rungs of the ladder. Now this is where the captain gets serious. These are the bids that force the opener to keep bidding, no matter what, as we start to explore game and maybe, just maybe, even a slam. On board number 3, the responder is sitting there with a strong, balanced hand. In room A, the experts use the ladder like surgeons. The 2 NT bid, that's a quantitative invite. It's basically asking, partner, I've got 13 to 15 points. Are you at the top end of your 1 NT bid or the bottom? The opener accepts, and boom, they're in the perfect 3 NT contract. Over in room B, the responder just leaps to 3 NT. It happens to work out this time, but they completely lose that crucial step of communication. They were flying blind. And that leads us right to our third Biscotti lesson. That 2NT bid is your precision tool. It's for announcing your point count. It is, without a doubt, the best way to invite to a no-trump game and keep you and your partner moving in perfect sync.
This is what's so powerful about the 2NT bid. It turns what could be a wild guess into a simple calculation. You're telling your opener exactly what you have. If they have a minimum 10 points, they pass. If they have a max of 12, they bid game. All the ambiguity just evaporates. It's simple math. This one shows the true power of the captain when they really take charge. So the responder is holding a fantastic long diamond suit. In room A, our expert responder Andrew jumps straight to 3 diamonds. This bid is game forcing. It screams, "Partner, drop everything, I have a massive diamond suit." And that forces them to explore and find the absolute best contract. But in room B, a timid little 2-diamond bid just lets the auction fizzle out and die.
Sometimes your hand isn't about points at all. It's about a powerful, long suit. When that's the case, you have to seize control. A jump to the 3 level is a forcing bid. You're grabbing the wheel and telling your partner, "Keep bidding, we're going to game." The whole logic here is that the shape of your hand has become way more important than your exact point count. By jumping to the 3 level, you are taking full and total command as the captain. You're not asking a question anymore, you're giving an order, and it's based on the sheer power and shape of your hand. Okay, so here it is. This is the big secret, the single most important rule for this whole sequence. Ready? Once the opener rebids 1 no-trump, they've basically described their hand. They are no longer in charge. All the power, it shifts, the responder. You just became the captain of the ship.
Let's put a name to that. It's called the Captaincy principle. And it basically says that at this point, the responder has the clearest picture of what the partnership has, both in strength and in shape. So it is now their job and their job alone to steer the ship, to decide whether to stop, invite, or force the bidding all the way to game.
We'll use board 5 as our example here. This is all about how you keep the conversation going when you know for a fact that a game is possible. So here's the problem you're facing as the responder. You're sitting there with a solid 13 points, definitely enough for game, but you're not 100% sure where the best fit is. So how do you tell your partner, "Hey, we're going to game, we just need to figure out where," without accidentally picking a suit and ending the auction right then and there?
And wow, does this illustrate the point perfectly? Check this out. In room A, Marjorie bids 3 clubs. But, and this is key, it's a forcing artificial bid. It has nothing to do with clubs. It's just a signal that says, "Partner, I have game-going values. Keep bidding. Let's find our spot." And because of that, they explore and land in the perfect game. Now jump over to room B. Same bid, 3 clubs. But they don't have that agreement, so it's taken literally as a natural bid. The whole auction just completely derails, and they end up with a penalty. A massive, massive swing on the board, all because of what one little bid meant.
So, what's the lesson here? It all comes down to partnership agreement. These powerful, conventional bids are amazing, but they only work if you're both speaking the same language. That's the first bit of wisdom served up with tonight's Biscotti. You know, sometimes the most important thing you can tell your partner isn't how many points you have, but where those points are. Let's see how a good captain describes a hand that has a really powerful shape. Just look at the difference here. In room A, Andrew uses his second bid to show the shape of his hand. He's saying he has at least 5 spades and 4 hearts. This paints a crystal clear picture for his partner, who can now evaluate the fit perfectly. They find their game, no problem. Meanwhile, in room B, they don't get that same clarity, and the partnership just gets lost and misses a game they absolutely should have bid. And the lesson from this hand is a total game changer. Don't get so obsessed with just counting points. When you have a strong, shapely hand, especially with 2 major suits, tell your partner about the shape first. Let them do the math. All right, we've got the basic tools down. Now let's look at a couple of more advanced gadgets that really disciplined partnerships use. These are the precision bids that can turn a good score into a great one by sniffing out a slam or by avoiding a total disaster in no trump.
This is where bridge bidding gets, well, it gets kind of beautiful actually. You're holding a fantastic hand, you've got a great fit with your partner, and you're thinking, slam might be on here. But you have one little problem, a worthless short suit. How on earth do you communicate all of that information in just one single bid?
The answer is something called a splinter bid, and this is the part you really have to remember. It's a jump bid in your short suit, not your long one.
It's this incredibly efficient way to say, partner, I love your suit, my hand is huge, but I have absolutely nothing in this suit. Do you have the aces and kings to cover it? Because if you do, we might be going to slam.
Okay, let's see it in action. Room A. Timmy makes a perfect splinter bid of 3 diamonds. This screams to his partner, I have a singleton diamond and amazing support for your spades. And right away they start exploring slam. In room B, that communication just isn't there. They settle for game and leave a ton of points on the table.
Now let's switch gears a little bit. A short suit is one kind of problem, sure, but there's another one that's just as dangerous. It's when you're aiming for a no-trump contract, but you have one suit that the opponents can just run against you. You're missing a stopper, a high card to win the first trick.
And this is where a convention like FSF, or forcing spade, comes in. It's subtle, but it's absolutely brilliant. By bidding the unbid suit, in this case spades, at a low level, the captain is asking a very, very specific question. Partner, I really want to play in 3 no-trump, but I can't stop the spades. Can you?
The big lesson for these advanced tools is just critical. They are only as good as your agreement. You have to talk about them, you have to write them on your convention card, and you've got to practice them. You can't just cross your fingers and hope your partner understands. You have to know.
So, after all these hands, all these different tools and decisions, what actually happened? What was the result? Let's take a look at the philosophy that actually won the match. And there you have it. The scoreboard tells the whole story. Team 1, the partnership that used clear, disciplined captaincy, they win the match. It wasn't about one flashy play. It was about consistent, clear communication where every player knew their role. So the ultimate point, the final lesson from the Bridge and Biscotti Club is this. You don't need 100 complicated gadgets. What you need is a simple, solid system with a few clear rules that you both understand. That's what puts points on the board, time and time again.
And that pretty much brings us to the end. So the real question now is for you and your partner. Looking at these tools, the simple forcing bid, describing your shape, which one are you going to add to your toolkit first so you can be the captain your partnership needs?
So, the next time your partner rebids 1NT, don't freeze up. See it for what it is, your moment to take command. They've dropped the anchor, all you have to do is climb the ladder. You're the captain now. Where are you going to steer the contract?
Subscribe our channel for more videos.